Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and it's the third green week in a row. You start to worry when this happens, when it's not sort of in the heavy bull market. It's 6,000 up for me this week, so that's pretty good. Sort of fairly spread around all the coins, and yeah, this seems to be sort of, I guess, off the back of quite a lot of news at the moment. So let's take a look. So if you said this would happen a few years ago, people would probably call you mad. The US Congress has written an open letter backed by two Democrats, two Republicans, so it's across the board, for the SEC to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF immediately. This bit of a surprise, probably sort of just posturing and isn't actually going to sort of get anywhere or do anything, as we'll sort of come to. But yeah, it's a nice surprise, certainly. And you can sort of read the letter. It's an open letter, basically sort of slating Gary and the SEC's practices and sort of methods for a few paragraphs, and then sort of right at the end saying spot ETF would provide increased protection for investors, and Congress has a duty to ensure the SEC approves investment products that meet the requirements set out by them. To that end, we urge you to approve the listing immediately. We appreciate your attention. And yeah, sort of since then, they have gone on a delaying run, almost straight after this letter was released, it seems. They have delayed a load of ETFs. So some people are saying this is backlash against Congress just because he's allowed to. Some people are saying it was because of the sort of impending US government shutdown, which has since been extended, it seems, for at least 45 days. It's a bit sad that, they sort of kicked the can down the road for that short a time, but there you go. And yeah, they've sort of delayed the BlackRock one and the Bitwise one, Invesco and Valkyrie. That just leaves sort of Vanek, and I believe these are sort of likely to be delayed as well. I've not seen sort of official release that they have been delayed, but it's basically sort of going to push almost all of them back to sort of the January dates. I can't imagine these other Global X ones and people like that going through. I think they'll just sort of delay everything, and then yeah, it pushes it back to next year at least. So January. A lot of people were sort of always looking at the final deadlines in March. I never thought they would go to quite that lengths, but yeah, the Congress sort of letters saying do it immediately, and they've pushed it back to January. So, well, I suppose they don't have to wait till January. It's a deadline. They could, now the government shutdown isn't happening, they could approve them all next week if they really want to. It'd be seen as sort of flip-flopping and a little bit embarrassing, but there you go. We'll see. And you've obviously got some other sort of Ethereum ones here, and yeah, some spot Ethereum ones and futures. And it looks like some of the futures are going to go through. So a lot of people were sort of always saying if you approve Bitcoin futures, then you'd sort of automatically approve Ethereum futures. And I was sort of a little less confident of that, because they're sort of still saying that Ethereum is a security, or that it, at best, it's unsure. So I sort of thought they might go through a little bit more turmoil, but yeah, it seems they've got the jump on a Bitcoin spot ETF at least, and Valkyrie have been sort of approved, from what I read, to buy Ethereum futures within another ETF. This is not sort of a full launch, but the sort of reports since are saying that I believe 9 ETFs are potentially launching in the next week or two. So yeah, we'll have to see. This is Grayscale, ProShares, Vanek, Bitwise, and sort of all sorts really. So if they all get the go-ahead on the same day, it's not necessarily bullish. We'll always remember the spot or the futures ETFs launches for Bitcoin pretty much mark the top of the market. So whether we're going to sort of see a reasonable drop in Ethereum now that sort of a load of people can potentially short Ethereum and sort of be borrowing shares, sort of creating shares that, or creating Ethereum that doesn't really exist through futures. As sort of mentioned last week, there's potential to have sort of more than the total supply of the underlying crypto in futures if you have enough money. So yeah, we'll see what happens to Ethereum. So I missed this one last week, but this is sort of pretty good news at a time like this. Mt. Gox have extended or the trustee at least has extended the deadline for creditor repayments. So you've got another year if you were in Mt. Gox and are sort of desperately trying to get some Bitcoin back. You've got another year to be putting a claim in until October 2024 now, where it would potentially get released. This is sort of a long-running saga, and sort of the idea was that people would be sort of dumping 140,000 Bitcoin because they presumably bought it at sort of $100, and it's now $27,000. Mt. Gox goes all the way back to 2013 when I was starting out in Bitcoin, pretty much. So yeah, the idea that people are sort of up 250 times and they're not going to sell was sort of maybe a little far-fetched, even if they sort of get, because I think they're saying 850,000 Bitcoin was lost, and there's only going to be sort of 140,000 to go around. But yeah, you might, if you're 70x up, say, and you get some back, then chances are they're going to be sort of selling quite a lot. But yeah, selling sort of that amount in the market as we are now, we would have expected to sort of tank the price a fair bit. But now that's not going to be released until at the very earliest October 2024. So this has been delayed quite a few times already. I remember we were talking about this sort of in 2018, 2019 time. But yeah, sort of October 2024, if things are a lot more bullish, you'd expect this could quite easily get soaked up sort of OTC if they want to sort of sell it that way, or offer the public for them to sell it that way without tanking the price. Yeah, just seems a much better time to be potentially selling that. Or if we're into a bull market by that time, people may just keep it, and even if they are a millionaire, maybe they could become a multi-millionaire. So yeah, that was really good news. And you had the bi-monthly sort of buy of Bitcoin for MicroStrategy. Bought 5,445 Bitcoin for a total of $150 million since August. This was through dilution, it seems, again, rather than sort of taking on debt. And they now hold 4.68 billion worth of Bitcoin. So I think it's the largest public bag, pretty much. And yeah, that's a hell of a lot. Michael Saylor sort of showing his conviction, and sort of people are bidding up the price. It's outperforming Bitcoin, rather to my surprise, because yeah, not really sure why. They sort of own 4.68 billion, and the market cap is about that from what I've seen, and yeah, they've got about 2 billion worth of debt. So if you sort of knock that off, then yeah, it's 2 billion more than their total Bitcoin holding, and the sort of underlying company isn't worth anywhere near that. So not quite sure why people are sort of so happy. Obviously, they're a company, so they can issue debt and buy more Bitcoin. That could potentially sort of outperform over just owning Bitcoin itself, but they could also, if the price drops, you could hold through it, and they could potentially have to force sell or even go bankrupt. So, yeah, not a sort of stock that I'd be looking to hold. If you want sort of a basically an ETF, then I think just wait sort of another couple of months, and presumably we'll have that ETF, or maybe 3 or 4 months, and you can sort of buy the BlackRock ETF. So yeah, that's not one that I would be all that keen on, but good for them for keep buying. There's more of a highlight that we shouldn't always focus on the US as well. Circle launching USDC on Mercado Libre, their sort of financial service Mercado Pago, to select countries, but I believe starting with just Chile. So yeah, 2 million users of Mercado Libre in Chile, and South America seem to be sort of fairly pro crypto. They call them the Amazon of Latin America. This sort of gets thrown about quite a lot. Not sure I would quite stretch to that, but yeah, it's certainly positive, and this should be positive for potentially Solana and Ethereum. Sort of with USDC getting launched, it's not quite clear sort of the underlying technology that would be used. Don't think they've announced that just yet, but yeah, has to be positive, and yeah, just a sort of, as I say, a highlight that maybe we shouldn't focus on the US sort of quite as much as we do. I think a lot is still going on in Latin America and Asia and even Europe. So yeah, good news. Speaking of Ethereum, though, they really do need something to sort of galvanise the community and get Ethereum itself being used, and sort of thus having it burnt, because it's really not being at the moment. You've had 7,800 ETH net supply in the last week, and sort of 30 days now it's been nothing but up. 23,000 ETH up. So this was under 220,000 before, in the sort of 200 and got to 215,000, I believe. So yeah, this sort of be, yeah, it did 213,000 even. So yeah, to be up to 237 now, it's not really being used all that much. Maybe we do need a sort of a bull market, and maybe the layer 2's sort of not quite getting used as much, I suppose, if you know, this is sort of being transactions being farmed off to the L2s, and then, you know, they do sort of thousands of transactions and then roll one up onto the main Ethereum chain, then you're not actually going to get that much ETH burnt. So yeah, I'm still waiting to see sort of where all of this goes. I do still keep an eye on the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, and sort of certainly the last week it doesn't seem to have cared. It's rocketed up. It sort of got it below 0.06, but yeah, at least on the sort of the longer term, it's down from where it was, and sort of the very longer term, most of this year it's been on a downtrend, but yeah, it's still in the big wedge, sort of about roughly in the middle of the wedge, really. So yeah, maybe if the futures, Ethereum futures, sort of launch and cause a bit of downwards pressure, and there's sort of bullishness on Bitcoin, could potentially get to the bottom side of this wedge. And if Ethereum itself is sort of looking a little bit more positive and a little bit more use, I may still make that switch. So coins for the week, it's basically all green. Bitcoin 2.3%. It's one of the sort of underperformers, as often happens when things are all green. Ethereum up 5.62%. Sort of as I showed, it's outperformed a little for the week. Solana doing really well, 9.47%. Chainlink nearly 13%. That's having a really good sort of few weeks, really. Cardano 4.4%, not too bad. XRP 2%. Power Ledger 3, Audius 2.3. Quant 0.5%. It's really sort of struggling at the moment, Quant, to sort of get going, although it didn't drop quite as much in the bad times. So I'm 25% down, which is obviously not great, but when you take sort of 42% down on Polygon, it's been a little bit more resilient. So there you go. We'll see what Quant does. Polygon Matic up 3% for the week. Basic Attention Token 5. Gala having a bit of a better week, nearly 10% up. Have to see whether they can sort of shrug off their problems. VeChain 3.6% and Internet Computer 8.4%. So bit of a mixed bag. Altcoins sort of generally outperforming Bitcoin. So yeah, don't take sort of too much from this. It's just 1 week, and it's not really a huge move in comparison to sort of the big downturn of the last the sort of, well, 2022 really. I mean, obviously 2023 has been largely positive, but yeah, wait until next year for the sort of the big run really, and 2025. So leave your thoughts in comments below, and like and subscribe. See you soon.